Good morning on this Friday. I'm Nikki Stanzione.
And I'm Kristen Van Dyke.
And this is New Mexico Style Friday. Woo woo!
TJIF, that's what I say.
I had to get my feathers in somehow. There we go.
Okay.
Well, you know, temperatures are soaring to 100 degrees and above in many states, and the National Weather Service has actually issued excessive heat warnings in different parts of the country.
That's right. In the past week, more than 1,000 records have been broken around the country, and here in New Mexico, we're seeing temperatures about 5 to 15 degrees above average, and really we're not going to get a lot of relief until maybe next week, and it's still not going to be a whole lot of relief. And you know, the heat, it creates dangerous conditions, and the Weather Service is calling these extreme temperatures life-threatening, which of course they can be.
Absolutely. Well, so let's turn now. This Friday morning, our friend Dr. Dennis Angellis from Presbyterian Healthcare Services is joining us with some really important information about staying cool. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us in the kitchen, and it's a little hot in here, right? You could feel the heat from the stove. Mark
We got the
Quinones
cook
here.
going.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the outdoors, of course. We know that it's important to stay hydrated in this kind of excessive heat, but we want to know what are the best fluids for us to drink, because, you know, some fluids are actually dehydrating, from what I understand.
That's true. The best is always the oldest, water. Water is the best thing to drink. Secondly, power drinks, those sports drinks, those are good because they have electrolytes in them.
Oh, so they're better.
And so when you're sweating some electrolytes with the water, and so you can replenish those with these sports drinks.
So things like Gatorade are good.
Yeah,
then.
Gatorade, Powerade, those are all good.
Okay.
The things you want to avoid, the two things you really want to avoid are alcoholic drinks. Okay, they're like a diuretic, so they'll dehydrate you, and drinks with high sugar contents. So if you're going to have something like a fruit juice or a soda, you should fill that glass with ice and dilute it out or cut it with some water.
Wow, really good advice.
Yeah, that is good advice, because you think about it with maybe soft drinks, but I didn't even think about it with a big glass of OJ or something like that.
Or apple juice.
Yeah, put some ice in.
Okay. Oh, good advice. Now, what about the heat-related illnesses that we need to be aware of? What are some of the symptoms?
There's three categories. One's called heat cramps, and that's usually people who are working or are exercising, and they'll start to get muscle cramps. That's an early sign of heat exhaustion.
Really?
So, yeah. So you know, their muscles will start cramping up. They'll be sweating. The second is heat exhaustion, which progresses to heat exhaustion, and as the name implies, people get really tired, feel weak. They get a little bit of a temperature. They start to profusely sweat, look pale, might get nauseated, have a headache. Yeah, and sometimes they actually faint.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're starting to really get dehydrated then, and you really want to do something about that early, because that leads to the last one, which is really a medical emergency. It's just like having a heart attack. It's called heat stroke. And in this point, people like reverse. They don't sweat at all. Their temperature goes way up to like 105, 106.
Oh my gosh.
Their skin gets really red and hot. They'll get nauseated, vomit. They might have a seizure.
Wow.
They get lethargic, confused.
And this is typical.
That's a medical emergency.
This is not. This is something that we do see a lot in this kind of weather.
Yeah, heat. I mean, it's the #1 killer of people when you consider when it comes to the weather. Heat is the one that kills the most.
Shocking?
It is.
Right.
When you think of all the extreme weather, oh my gosh.
Now, how should these illnesses be treated? What do you do to prevent that?
Well, the baseline for all of them is get people into some cool environment. And air conditioning is the best.
Is it? Okay.
So for heat cramps, you want to get that person in that cool environment and start drinking water or sport fluids.
This might sound like a real common sense thing, but I know a lot of times if somebody's hot, would you say maybe like a cold compress or something on their neck? Because I always feel, especially with girls with long hair, putting something cold on the back of your neck, does that actually make a difference?
Actually, yeah, that's recommended actually for any hot environment. So even, you know, if you have your swamp cooler isn't working really well, putting a cool cloth on your neck and in your armpits, actually.
Really?
Yeah, both places will help cool you off.
Interesting. So now if somebody can't get into air conditioning, what else would you recommend?
Well, first of all, always it's light, loose clothing, one layer, the lightest clothes you got. Always drink plenty of cool fluids. So if you have a thermos or something insulated so that you're not getting to room temperature, which can be 100 now, you want to drink cool fluids. Keep up. Don't wait till you're thirsty.
Don't wait. Just do it
first.
Yeah.
Really, really helpful and very important information. Dr. Angellis, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
We hope you'll come back and give us some more tips as we need them.
Sure. Anytime.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And you know, I think now we should just check in with one hot anchor, Miss Elizabeth Alvarez of KRQE News 13.
Hot in here. No, seriously, that was such great advice.
Wasn't
I'm so glad the doctor was here because my son, you know, he drinks a lot of juice. Apple juice, grape juice, fruit juice, and you know, I need to really start either watering it down big time, throw in the ice, or switch to Gatorade. So thank you, doctor. I really, really needed to hear that this morning.
Really good information.
All right, let's get to your other morning news headlines. The Supreme Court has ruled a major overhaul on healthcare is now the law of the land. The entire country continues to react to changes that could affect nearly every single American. In the end, it all came down to Chief Justice John Roberts. The conservative Chief Justice joined the 4 liberal justices on the bench to uphold the key clause that requires every American to get health insurance or pay a penalty starting in 2014. The other part of the law that also was upheld, insurance companies cannot disqualify people because of pre-existing conditions or raise rates on the chronically sick. For New Mexico, the key part of yesterday's ruling appears to be the one part of the healthcare law that was overturned. Justices ruled that states cannot be forced to expand their Medicaid programs to cover everyone who can't afford insurance. Instead, they are leaving that up to each state to decide. There's already a dispute over whether New Mexico can and should. The fight centers around if Medicaid should cover another 170,000 New Mexicans, and if so, how to pay for that. Governor Susana Martinez claims that the state cannot afford the estimated $83 million a year for 6 years that will be needed to expand Medicaid. New Mexico already pays close to $1 billion a year to insure the sick and poor.
When you grow that pool by that number and don't have the budget for it, you are sure to drain the funding that is available.
Governor Martinez did say there were some good parts of the health care law. She cited the provision that lets people 25 and younger stay on their parents' health plans. All right, in other news this morning, Mayor R.J. Berry wants downtown Albuquerque to have a grocery store. Yesterday, he announced that the city will take proposals for a supermarket to be built on a 1-acre lot at 2nd and Silver, an area where many condos and apartments have been built in recent years. The city says 10,000 people now live in downtown and about 30,000 folks work in downtown. Governor Susana Martinez, again, talking about her. She is scheduled to make an announcement today about 50 new jobs coming to the area. Governor Martinez will announce that a new call center for Bicycle Technologies International will be moving into Santa Fe. The major bicycle parts and accessories distributor will build a 15,000 square foot facility in the Rancho Viejo area. And lastly, a special team has been working overnight to try to make sure that 7,000 state employees get paid in full this morning. The Department of Finance and Administration says an error was found yesterday after workers got their pay stubs and found that not all of their money was going into their direct deposit accounts. Officials believe a software glitch in the payroll system is to blame. A team has been working nonstop since last night to individually process these requests, and they're hoping to have the ordeal all sorted out by this morning. So hopefully those 7,000 state employees will get their full paychecks by this morning. Yeah. Okay, that wraps it up for your Friday morning headlines. Be sure to catch Matt Morrow, Kristen Van Dyke, and me every weekday morning beginning at 4:30 a.m. on KRQE News 13. Ladies, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Elizabeth. I saw you say on Facebook that it couldn't come soon enough. You can't say it enough. TGIF.
Love Friday. I know, TGIF.
A little sleeping in on a Saturday morning didn't hurt anybody. Thanks, Elizabeth. And, you know, okay, I want to talk a little bit about Hollywood life in New Mexico.
Right.
You know, we've seen the set of The Lone Ranger from Sky Ranger, but now the film's producer is actually giving us a look from the inside. Jerry Bruckheimer posted these pictures to his Twitter account this week, showing shots of the set and some of the props, as nicely written
right
props.
there, yeah. That includes a look at how they make furniture look like it's straight from the Wild West. And the movie, of course, stars Johnny Depp and is being filmed here in New Mexico. And part of the movie is being filmed in Colorado and Utah, most of it right here, though, in the States. So pretty cool
So
stuff.
I'm excited to see that movie.
I cannot wait.
I know a lot of the people we've met, and even some of the people who have worked here have done extra work on that movie, and so it'll be fun to try to spot some familiar faces, right?
Yeah.
Okay, a very familiar face we won't be seeing as much of. Ann Curry. She offered a very tearful goodbye as co-host of NBC's Today Show on Thursday after taking the fall for the show's ratings troubles. But we've also heard that her co-host Matt Lauer and she never seemed to click, and he is actually the reason she was ousted. So how can you work with someone for 15 years? You realize how long that is, and then suddenly not click? It's like a marriage when somebody says, like, after 15 years, we're not clicking. How do you not know that sometime in those 15 years? I don't know. Here's a clip.
So welcome back, everybody. It's 8:50, and this is not easy to say, but today is going to be my last morning as a regular co-host of Today. I will still be a part of the Today Show family, but I'm going to have a new title and a new role. And this is not as I expected to ever leave this couch after 15 years, but I am so grateful, especially to all of you who watch, because Matt and I and everyone who sits on this couch, we often call ourselves a family, but you are the real Today Show family.
So, yeah, she was joined by Matt Lauer, Al Roker, and Natalie Morales as she made the announcement during the final 5 minutes of the show. And, you know, it was a little bit awkward. If you watch the whole thing, I mean, it's all over the internet. Well, I'm sure we'll have it on our website, too. But it's kind of awkward because you can tell that there is tension between, I think, you can tell there's tension between she and Matt a little bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, Matt sat beside her and actually patted her on the back. He tried to give her a hug, and then as she was having a moment, he leaned over to kiss her on the head, but she wasn't having any of that. She was like, oh no, And I hated it because I felt like it was so condescending and so like, look, the whole world knows, it's public knowledge that he didn't want to work with her. It's public knowledge that he's making 25 mil and wanted her to leave so that he could stay on the show, and that was really the only way he would stay. And yet to sit there and like be affectionate and physical, and she wouldn't look him in the eye once. She wouldn't even look at him.
I've seen that many times in TV, though.
Yeah, you do.
You see it. You're like,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it happens where
awkward.
you have to put on the face, you know. But it was awkward, and I think that, I mean, it was really sad, and I always felt like everything she said was straight from the heart, and
always.
that seemed very heartfelt.
So
we're going to miss her, but we'll still see plenty of Ann. She's staying on with NBC News as an international correspondent, but there has been plenty of backlash from angry fans between tweets, the Facebook comments, phone calls, and emails to NBC.
The lesson here to be learned is just watch New Mexico Style from 8 to 9. You don't need to watch the Today Show at all anymore, especially now. And now Don Grady, who portrayed Big Brother Robbie Douglas on the 1960s hit My Three Sons. This is actually sad news. He has died from cancer and was only 68. You know, he was definitely the hot brother. Look at that cleft in his chin.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, he's so young. My Three Sons was must-see TV for more than a decade, by the way. The head of his all-male family was Fred McMurray, who played the widowed Steve Douglas, and easygoing father whose world revolved around his sons. So it was a good show.
They were such, I loved those brothers. And Don was also one of the original Mouseketeers, and then later in life, he actually became a composer and songwriter. So a little trivia on him, and we're so sad to hear that he's gone. So, you know, it's amazing. You hear 68 and you're thinking, oh my gosh, he's already 68, but then you hear he died at such a young age. It's so sad. So that's sad news, but now you're in the know about that. Now, obviously, the heat is on outside, but you might remember the doctor just said getting in the air conditioning is a good idea, right?
It is. That's right. It's a good weekend to chill out at the movies.
Yeah. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has what's new in theaters.
Hollywood's throwing a wild R-rated party this weekend with a guest list that includes a foul-mouthed, troublemaking teddy bear.
Well, they're hookers, so it's fine.
Plus, well-choreographed leading men stripping down to next to nothing.
Hey, Johnny, how about a beer, huh?
Let's start with Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane's movie Ted, a raunchy romp following a dirty-minded Teddy who puts a kink in the plans of his lifelong buddy Mark Wahlberg. Then there's Magic Mike, a fitting ad to bachelorette parties this summer. As Channing Tatum, Matthew McConaughey, and more bring a story from the world of male strip clubs inspired by Channing's dance-filled past.
That the outcome doesn't matter. What matters is that you're there for it.
There is a more sentimental choice, as Chris Pine, Elizabeth Banks, and Olivia Wilde explore the dynamics of several relationships in People Like Us. A film about a man on a journey to find the sister he never knew after his father passes away.
I want to know what you do to me.
In limited release, Take This Waltz also does its share of relationship exploration as Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, and Luke Kirby tell the love triangle tale of a wife tempted by the artist who lives across the street. If there's one thing summer blockbuster history has taught us, it's don't underestimate the family-friendly fare of the season. So, from the current box office champ Brave to the franchise success story of Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, a kid pick could rule the day once again.
Let's let these animals do their show.
So you can bang it, but you can't get it drunk.
Outings for the whole family and some just for the grown-ups. All at the movies this week. In New York, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Tell us a little bit about.
Well, if a trip to the Rio Grande Bosque is in your weekend plans, heads up. Starting today, the only areas open to the public are the paved paths and the carved out dirt trails, the ones that look like a path. So you just got to stay on one of the paths, paved or the dirt trails.
Yeah, and this is because earlier this week, the 4 counties met to discuss shutting down the Bosque altogether. And Sandoval, Valencia, and Socorro counties voted to completely close off access to the Bosque. Bernalillo County decided to keep the Bosque open, but impose those certain restrictions that we're mentioning.
And remember, campfires, fireworks, smoking are strictly prohibited. It is so dry out there. I mean, you're here to talk about the fires. Let's don't contribute to it. Let's do what we can to keep things as quiet as possible out there. And it's going to be another hot one this weekend. So let's go ahead and talk about the weather now and what you can expect as we go into the weekend.